What's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today, we are now 5 weeks out from the 2025 Arnold Classic in Columbus, Ohio. And we've got some more physique updates from some of the top guys doing the show. I wanted to start out, though, with James the Shed Hollingshead, because James is one of the guys that we haven't talked a whole lot about going into the Arnold, but he is on the competitor list. He is doing the show. And this is the latest series of physique updates that we got from him at 5 weeks out. And I feel like, frankly, maybe we haven't talked about James enough going into this Arnold. It could be because we haven't had that many physique updates from him, but if you look back to last year, the 2024 Arnold Ohio and the 2024 Arnold Classic UK, at both of those shows, James was top 5. He was 5th back-to-back at both Arnolds last year. And I think if he was able to do that again this year in this current lineup, that would be extremely impressive. I mean, it was honestly pretty impressive last year. I mean, you had Hadi Chupin, you had Samson Dauda, Rafael Brandao in 3rd, John De La Rosa in 4th, James in 5th. And I guess John should be mentioned here as well because he's also competing in this year's Arnold Classic. But I feel like John, I don't think he's posted a single physique update from this prep at all. I don't think we've seen anything from John. Now, honestly, I think overall this lineup is tougher than last year's Arnold lineup. I think the top two, Hadi and Samson, obviously was very, very close and very contentious. But the rest of the lineup, I don't think it was as high of a caliber as this one. I mean, this one, yeah, you've got Samson again. You've got Derek Lunsford. We've got Andrew Jack, Brandon Curry, Sean Clarita, William Bonac, Carlos Thomas Jr., who's kind of a wild card, Akeem Williams. So to me, it just feels like this is a tougher lineup for a guy like James or a guy like John De La Rosa. Because if you kind of give the placings, let's say your top 4, let's say in no particular order, your top 4 include Samson Dauda, Derek Lunsford. You're probably including Andrew Jack in your top 4, and you're probably including Sean Clarita in your top 4. So that 5th place spot seems a little bit tougher this year. If you say that's going to be your top 4, is it going to be Brandon in 5th, Bonac in 5th, Justin Rodriguez, Carlos Thomas Jr., Akeem Williams, John De La Rosa, James Hollingshead? I really feel like that top 4, it's going to be hard for one of those guys not to be in it. Andrew, Derek, Samson, or Sean, just based on the way Sean's been looking as well. So I feel like that 5th place spot is going to be a tough one to secure. But James does look really impressive in these updates, and that's why I wanted to show them. He looks big and he looks lean. He's got that. One of the things that I like about James's physique the most is when he's in good condition, he brings that grainy quality that a lot of guys don't have. That like dense, grainy look, kind of like a Branch Warren. And he is another guy that's working with Boss of Outlaw, so that's got to count for something, the track record that Stefan has applied to James's physique. And again, just I still can't believe how many guys that Boss of Outlaw coaches and successfully coaches at the same time for the same show, men and women. It is pretty crazy how so many of his athletes end up looking really impressive. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. How do you think James is going to place at this year's Arnold Classic? How do you think he's looking in these physique updates? Let me know in the comments down below. Now, next up in the news, we got another physique update from Carlos Thomas Jr., this time at the 5-week out mark from the Arnold. Carlos, in this update, this is a little bit closer to what I want to see from Carlos in terms of the lower body. I've been saying about a lot of Carlos's updates, he's got that round 3D impressive look. His legs are obviously really big, really round, really full lower body. But my criticism of Carlos and a lot of the updates that we had seen at further points out from the Arnold was that the separation in his legs didn't seem to be as deep or as crisp or as defined as some of the other guys that we're seeing right now. So yeah, he had the size, but they weren't quite cut up like some of the other guys that we had already seen pretty cut up, including Samson for that matter. Now, this is a lot more like what I want to see from Carlos. Now you're starting to see some deeper level of separation in the quads. You're starting to see even, I believe, some cross striation on the quads as well. So in a lot of the earlier updates, maybe he was just really pumped in the lower body. Maybe there's just a lot of blood down there because his legs were really vascular, but they just really weren't that defined at all. And again, we compared to other guys that were doing the Arnold at the same point in their prep, and they were all pretty sliced up in the lower body when Carlos was kind of lacking that. Now you're seeing that a little bit more. And again, the other criticism point, we still haven't seen what his back is looking like. But as far as his front double bicep, his V-taper, absolutely insane. I think his front lat spread looks pretty good here as well. I think the front double bicep with more of a vacuum pose expanded abdominal region versus a crunched abdominal looks really good on his physique. He looks good with the vacuum in the front double. I still would say, I mean, there's nothing really concerning about this physique update when it comes to his midsection, but I still would say that's one thing that I'm worried about with Carlos, just because of the health issues that he's had, and some of the other updates that we've seen that showed the midsection. Well, there's nothing that looks bad about it here. I still have that in the back of my mind. Hopefully that's under control for the Arnold, but this is a lot more what I want to see from Carlos. This makes me a little bit more optimistic about how he's going to do here. Again, I think all the things that make Carlos great, we already know. That round 3D look that he's got, just crazy proportions, crazy like leg to waist ratio, upper body to waist ratio. The arms are crazy, the legs are just, he's got these like freaky attributes. We all know that. But it's the conditioning that I think is really going to take him to a level of maybe he's in the conversation to win the Arnold. And this update to me looks a lot more along the lines of what we want to see from Carlos in terms of that condition. Now, granted, we still haven't seen the back. We're only looking at, for the lower body, we're only looking at the quads. We haven't seen his glutes. We haven't seen his hamstrings. And we haven't seen his entire back in general. So that's a big thing that we have not seen at all, that we're just kind of ignoring in this conversation with Carlos. But certainly what we have seen, I'm very, very impressed. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below about how Carlos is looking, his chances at the Arnold Classic this year. I'm trying in this video to talk about maybe some of the guys that are a little bit more outside of the conversation, maybe not considered potential winners at this point. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Now, next up in the news, the Detroit Pro. They just announced that William Bonac is also doing the Detroit Pro. The guy that we just talked about, Carlos Thomas Jr., another confirmed competitor in that Detroit Pro lineup. And Good Vito is supposed to be doing it as well, although I don't see him on their page as confirmed yet, but he said he was doing it. And this is a show that's going to be shortly after the Arnold Classic. This show is in April. The Arnold Classic's in March. So that's like right on the horizon for us to look forward to. William Bonac jumping in that lineup I think is pretty huge, and maybe puts a little bit more pressure on some of the newcomers like a Carlos Thomas Jr. or Good Vito. It's gonna be harder for them to win for sure with Bonac in that lineup. Now, next up in the news, another thing that I wanted to add to this video, I saw this on my feed today. Rubiel Mosquera, Neckzilla, a guy that we haven't talked much about, a guy that's kind of become notorious for missing shows. Apparently his visa to the U.S. has been approved, according to his coach, Fran Espen, and this was posted on the page Bodybuilding Total. And I guess this would be his Spanish visa approved. Now, to be completely honest, I'm not a visa expert, so I'm not entirely sure what this means, because I was under the impression that Rubiel is in Spain right now with his coach Fran Espen, because that's where his coach is located, and he's been there before. But he's also saying that they want to begin their preparation to try to qualify for the Olympia, so maybe he just got his visa renewed so he can go back and start prepping with his coach again. Maybe that's what they're talking about here. I don't know if this means he's got a visa now from Spain to the U.S. It doesn't look like it based on this post. But I don't know. I'm just hoping that we see some progress from Rubiel. Progress in a positive direction towards competing more often, competing in the bigger shows, doing the shows that he says he's going to do. Because they use the visa excuse, I believe it was for the Arnold US and the UK, was when they were using the excuse of the visa for why he blew off those shows. So I guess it's good to see he's on top of any visa situation. But again, I'm not a visa expert. I don't know if this has anything to do with being able to travel to the U.S. I mean, maybe it does. Maybe you guys have better visa knowledge than I do. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. What do you think the 2025 competitive season is going to look like for Rubiel? Do you think we're going to see him do a big show, like a show in the States, like a New York Pro, an Arnold Classic, maybe even a show like Detroit? Do you think we'll see him at all in 2025? I guess is also another valid question to ask. And do you think he's going to qualify for the Olympia? Let me know in the comments down below. Now, next up in the news, we did get another physique update from Samson Dauda. Now, this one was also in black and white, so I'm assuming this was maybe from the same day that we got the picture of his back where he's like hitting the Christmas tree in the lower back. That was also black and white. So that was about 3 days ago. So this may have been at 5.5 weeks out from the Arnold, not necessarily at 5 weeks. But this is the most recent update that we have of Samson's physique. Your reigning Mr. Olympia champ, the on-paper favorite to win this Arnold Classic. And again, just looking ridiculous, man. He looks insane. And kind of like what I mentioned with Carlos earlier, Samson obviously has crazy big legs as well. I mean, this is the kind of separation you want to see in a 300-plus pound guy with big, full legs. Those are pretty separated quads at 5 weeks out. And as I've pointed out before, this is kind of one of those unique attributes that makes Samson so special. Because when we talk about Samson, we're talking about, like I say sometimes, in the context of how big he is, being over 300 pounds. We don't know exactly what he's weighing now, but I'm assuming still well over 300 pounds, right? So we're talking about a guy much bigger than a guy like Carlos Thomas Jr., for example. And when you look at a guy of Samson's size and you see his legs carved up like that, you see every single ab visible, defined, protruding abs. You're seeing something that we've criticized in the past about Samson. You're seeing striations in the chest at 5 weeks out, something that Samson, oftentimes lacks at various points in his prep. For a guy that is the size of Samson, this is about as good as it gets at this point in a prep. This is about as good as we could possibly expect Samson to be looking at 5 weeks out. There's really, in my opinion, there's really nothing negative to say about any of the updates that we've seen of Samson. He looks on track. I've said before, I think he looks even more on track than he was at this point going into the Olympia. He looks like he's in really good condition. He looks really big. He looks really full. And you can, like I said, you can see every single ab. His legs are split up. Striations in the chest, all that stuff. And really, it was just like a month ago or a few weeks ago that Samson was pushing 330 pounds. This, to me, is definitely going to be the guy to beat at the Arnold. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Now, next up in the news, Patrick Moore. I want to talk a little bit more about this, even though the previous video got demonetized because of the video of the fight in that video. But I still want to talk about it in this video. It might demonetize this one too. Or not demonetize it, it age restricted it. So it limited who can watch it. So I talked to Patrick, I guess it was the day before yesterday. It wasn't yesterday. It was shortly after I posted my video. And Patrick, he posted this today. So he posted again kind of a slow-mo video of the fight. And he had this caption on. He said, I really was trying to let all this die out because it could have went an entirely different direction if it were up to me, but since the other party can't seem to stop spreading misinformation, slip, snitching, non-paid debt, etc., I'll leave this right here. I'll never claim to be the toughest guy because I can lose a fight any given day, but I do know what I'm capable of. Case in point here, when it comes to an overzealous, overly aggressive individual, the original plan didn't age too well. Obviously, I'm in prep, and I'm definitely on track with the real technician, but I will get on here at some point soon with all the correct information. Until then, enjoy this clip of a perfectly crafted self-defense. So, I talked to Patrick. He expressed a similar sentiment as he's expressing in this post. He wanted me not to post the video, or he wanted me to at least retract what I said, or whatever he said. So Patrick kind of shared additional information with me, and I kind of said to Patrick, I mean, look, the video that I posted, all we really have to go on is he said this, he said that, and then the video of the fight. So we've got a video of a fight It's all over social media. Patrick Moore saying one thing, the other guy saying the other thing. I mean, that's really all we have to go on. And that's all I talked about in the videos. Here's the video, and here's what both people are saying about why this happened, albeit we don't really know why. And then I also told him, I mean, the only thing that we can really craft a real opinion on here is what we're looking at in the video, because that's the concrete evidence that we're looking at. And, you know, whatever Patrick Moore says or whatever the gym owner says, those are just two guys' word against each other. But we can look at the video objectively and say, you know, how'd this fight look? Did this look like it was kosher, 1v1, someone getting jumped, whatever? And I think Patrick's response to that was, well, of course, it's their surveillance footage. It's the surveillance cameras at the gym. So he basically said, like, they crafted it or they edited it or they cropped it, clipped it in a way that made it look the way that it looked. Because we really just see the core of the fight. And there's no audio on any of the clips that I saw, at least. So you don't see any of the lead up to the fight. Like, what caused it? What were they saying to each other? What were they yelling? What was the build up? What was the audio going into the actual confrontation? And what were they saying in the confrontation? Then after the point where Patrick gets pulled off of the other guy and the other friend like jumps in, we don't really see too much of what happens after that. So you see the core of the fight, you see Patrick get pulled off, you see the other friend jump in. You don't really see what happens after that. So Patrick was saying, you know, yeah, they clipped it in a way that would make them look the best when this comes out, which I think is entirely possible. It could be true, and it does make sense. And Patrick Moore we're talking about, because both their names are Patrick. Patrick Moore was also emphasizing that he never starts shit. He's not really the type of guy that's aggressive. He's a pretty chill guy. And I've met Patrick a couple times. He is a pretty chill guy. And he says they even cut out the audio in the video where Patrick Moore says, let's go inside and just talk about this. And he was saying, you know, the gym owner guy was the aggressive one that wanted to fight out there. And then there's also the stuff about the gym owner selling gear. And Patrick showed some receipts of that. I'm not going to show that in this video because there's some stuff that probably would be worse than getting age restricted. And Patrick Moore also showed me some text that would suggest that the gym owner was the one that wanted this fight. He's the one that confronted Patrick and wanted this to be instigated to a fight. He said he's going to beat Patrick's ass, etc. So I believe that Patrick is going to be getting, he told me he was speaking to the police the day that I talked to him, so I guess this was 2 days ago. And I believe Patrick Moore is going to be requesting or getting the full surveillance footage, and he's going to be making his own post and putting out what he feels is the correct information, which I am very interested to see because I do feel like this whole situation, I mean, even if you go off just the video that was released, just the surveillance video, let's take out the he said, let's take out the two different stories, just the video that was released. I think the context of that video aside, it doesn't make Patrick look the best. I mean, because like I said, we can look at the video, watch the fight, and if you just look at the two guys fighting, I think the part of it that kind of turns the tables a bit is when Patrick is on top of the guy and he continues to hit him while he's on the ground. Whether the guy slipped or whatever, that wasn't the best look. I think we can all agree on that. And I think that the friend jumping in and pulling Patrick off, I think in that context, it looked like that was the appropriate thing to do. So just the video at face value alone, not a great look for Patrick. So I want to see Patrick come out with whatever additional video, whatever additional audio, whatever additional receipts, his side of the story. Because like I said, I've always known Patrick to be, like he said to me, a chill guy. He's always been pretty laid back. And he seems like a nice guy. And if it's true that this fight was requested or initiated and really pushed for by the other guy, and Patrick Moore didn't want to fight, if that's true, I do think it kind of changes the context of what we see happen in that video. But rather than retract the previous video, because like I said, all I did was look at the video that we had and show both sides of what the guys were saying about what happened. When Patrick comes out with his side of the story, I'll continue to do videos updating whatever the additional information is, whatever Patrick's side of the story, his receipts, his videos. I'll just continue to include that because we got to kind of show, even if it makes Patrick look bad, showing the other guy's version of events, you got to show both sides of the story, because we saw a fight and we saw one guy post a bunch of stories saying why he felt that happened. You got to include both sides, even if it does make Patrick look bad. And if Patrick comes out with his side of the story and his receipts that make the other guy look really bad, I'll cover that as well. And it's hard to really take a side on any of this stuff because, like I said, the only concrete thing that we have is a surveillance footage, and it's totally possible that it could have been clipped in a way to make Patrick look bad. But, we haven't seen like a contract of whatever their agreement was. Like they were saying the dispute was over the money that Patrick owed the gym owner. We never really saw an actual contract. We never saw, what does it say? We know the police showed up. We never saw a police report. Like, what does the police report say about this situation? And we've seen like a couple screenshots of text messages and stuff, but we haven't seen really anything like a contract from either guy, which I'm assuming Patrick probably has and probably will post. It is a pretty interesting situation though, because I don't remember the last time, if ever, we've had a IFBB pro that's just weeks out from, the second biggest show in bodybuilding, the Arnold Classic, get into a fight like right before the show, and like a legit fight, like a fist fight, like full-blown fight, not just one smack, not just one punch. I don't know that we've ever seen this before. I mean, think about how much press that Jeff Nippard situation, and granted, neither of those guys were prepping for a show, but that was just one, that wasn't a fight, it was just like one action. But I think I'll leave that there, so let me know what you guys think in the comments below about the Patrick Moore situation. Good, bad, ugly, whose side are you on in this whole thing? I know it's been kind of a controversial topic, but hopefully we do get some more additional information. Now, the final story that I've got for you guys today, just because I don't want to end it on such a negative note with the fight thing, I just wanted to show these recent physique updates of Brett Wilkin, where I felt he looked really impressive. This was a day or two ago that he posted these, but we're kind of anticipating the new version of Brett. And he looked really good working with Matt Jansen as well, but now that he's not with Matt, he's with Boss of Outlaw, yet another guy working with Stefan. But now that he's with Boss of Outlaw, who has really transformed a lot of guys' physiques in a positive way, we're kind of anticipating the 2025 version of Brett's physique, and Brett is one of the only early qualified guys for the 2025 Mr. Olympia. Actually, let me go ahead and pull that list up for you guys right here, because there's only 7 names, including Brett, so it's a pretty impressive list for Brett to be on as we kind of anticipate his new look. Like I said, I don't know if he's planning on competing at all before the Olympia. It kind of looks like he might be based on the shape that he's in. This doesn't really look like an off-season physique. But Brett, Samson, Hottie, Derek, Raphael Brandau, Martin Fitzwater, and Akeem Williams. So it looks like they're not automatically adding like former Mr. Olympia champs to the list, like Brandon Curry, for example, Big Ramy, for example. I guess they do have that rule where if it's been more than 5 years since you won your Olympia title, you have to request to compete at the Olympia. And I guess Brandon would be 5 years plus. I don't think, but Ramy wouldn't be, right? I don't know. Anyway, they're not doing that anymore. It looks like they're not automatically adding Mr. Olympia names on there. Phil Heath would certainly be outside of that window at this point. But the point is, Brett Wilkin is in pretty impressive company qualifying early for the 2025 Mr. Olympia. In theory, doesn't have to compete at all in 2025 prior to that, but it's kind of looking like he might. I think he looks really impressive in these updates. He looks like he's in really good shape. And to me, maybe he's starting a prep. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. That's going to wrap it up for the video today, guys. I hope you did, in fact, enjoy it. Another longer one today, so if you're enjoying the 20 to 30-minute episodes, make sure you leave a like on this video. I said that last time, and it did get more likes than usual by like a couple thousand likes, which does help out tremendously. I really appreciate that, and it does actually push it a little bit more into the algorithm. So I think maybe longer videos are the direction that I need to keep going in, because it seems like people like them. My personal theory is because it's kind of the bodybuilding industry. I think people like something to watch either A, while they're eating, or B, while they're doing cardio. And I think that 20 to 30 minutes is kind of that sweet spot for both of those things. So if you're one of those people, if you're watching this right now and you're eating or you're doing cardio, make sure you leave a like on the video. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, click that bell notification icon if you have not already, all that good stuff. And as always, I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power, signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at NickStrengthPower. My Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power. My secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.